Division dispatches.
Practical procedure. Short answers to common questions. The information in this video series is drawn from the Public Schools Act and Robert's Rules of Order, which is the parliamentary authority most commonly used by school boards in the province. Different parliamentary authorities, or a school board's own procedural bylaw, may dictate different procedures in some instances, but provisions of the Public Schools Act apply to all boards and may not be overridden by your own bylaw or parliamentary authority. Part 1 of this series looks at some common questions relating to voting, while Part 2 is focused on meeting and interpersonal dynamics in the context of school board operations.
One of the trustees on my board keeps bringing up the same topic meeting after meeting. We've already made our decision. Can I stop that from happening?
There is a classification of motions called dilatory motions. A dilatory motion is anything that seeks to obstruct or thwart the will of the assembly, or in this case, the school board. Any motion that is a deliberate attempt to waste time is dilatory. A motion that revisits a previous decision of the board without providing any new information about the matter is an example of such a time waster. Such motions, also called improper motions, should be ruled out of order by the chair. But because good parliamentary procedure is supposed to protect the rights of both the minority and the majority, there are some rules that need to be observed when it comes to ruling a motion dilatory or improper. First of all, nothing stops a trustee from seeking the reversal of a decision in accordance with the Public Schools Act. But they only get to do that once. If the motion to reverse is defeated, any attempt to bring it back within the same session is improper or dilatory. This brings us to the second rule. Robert is clear that a motion that presents the same or practically the same question as a motion previously decided in the same session is out of order. The Public Schools Act does not define what constitutes a session for school board operations. We suggest that you do so in your procedural bylaw, and that you define a session as a period of time from one inaugural meeting to the next.
Can I rule one of my board colleagues out of order?
The only person who gets to rule someone out of order, or make any other ruling for that matter, is the person who is chairing the meeting. However, you can draw the chair's attention to a rules violation, which serves as an invitation for the chair to rule on the infraction. To do this, you rise to a point of order and present a brief explanation of why you think the rules have been broken. This is one of the few instances where you can actually interrupt somebody who has the floor, because you must raise the point of order at the time the rule is broken. If the chair agrees that a violation has occurred, the formal response is that the point is well taken and the chair will make the appropriate ruling. If the chair disagrees, then the point is not well taken and the meeting resumes as if no point of order had been raised. Still think there was a rules violation? Then you can appeal from the decision of the chair and see if a majority of your fellow trustees agree with you. If so, the decision of the chair that there was no rules violation is overturned.
I don't think our chair is up to the job. What can I do about that?
First, figure out the basis for your concern. Has the chair made some recent rulings with which you disagree? If that's the case, there is a procedural solution. You can express your disagreement by appealing from the decision of the chair. Sometimes referred to as challenging the decision, this is an incidental motion that effectively enables you to voice your disagreement. If one of your fellow trustees shares your concern and that trustee seconds your motion to appeal, the motion goes to a vote. If a majority of the board members agree and support your motion, the original decision of the chair is overturned. If your concern about the chair's performance is more general, you may want to consider ensuring that new or inexperienced chairs can access appropriate training. The Manitoba School Boards Association offers a session for chairs after each general school trustee election and can offer additional training upon request. The Manitoba Association of Parliamentarians can also offer support. What you can't do is remove a chair from office. There is no such provision in the Public Schools Act, which simply indicates that the chair and vice chair will hold office until the next election for those positions. In extreme circumstances, you could ask the chair to resign, but unless your chair is willing to do so voluntarily, the board will have to wait until the next inaugural meeting to elect a new chair.
Can the board have an in-camera meeting without the superintendent being there?
The real question here isn't so much whether a board can meet without its superintendent. The answer to that is yes, but whether it should do so. The answer to the should question lies within your response to yet another question. Why do you want to meet without such a key member of the leadership team being present? If the answer to the why question falls within the realm of personnel matters, then your reason for wanting to meet without the superintendent present is quite likely valid. For instance, are you planning for an upcoming performance review? Or are you at the start of a contract negotiations with the incumbent? If so, it probably makes sense to meet, at least in the early stages of these types of processes, on your own as a board, or with only other select members of administration present. Some of the other reasons for wanting to meet without the superintendent, however, do not necessarily stand up to close scrutiny. For example, some trustees may feel that the board is overly influenced by the superintendent, or that the superintendent is making decisions that rightly are the purview of the board. Situations like these require greater communication between board and administration, not less. Ignoring the problem by excluding the superintendent from a meeting is not the answer, but unfortunately, it is a good first step towards creating a dysfunctional school division leadership team.
What do I do when I think someone has violated our code of conduct?
Under the Public Schools Act, every school board is required to have a trustee code of conduct. The legislation outlines the bare minimum that the code must contain, the vote needed to pass a serious sanction, and a few other critical details. However, it does not provide much in the way of guidance as to how to launch, investigate, and respond to a code of conduct complaint. This is why clarity in school board procedures relating to code of conduct violations is critical. As a starting point, your procedures need to state clearly who to approach if a trustee suspects a code of conduct violation, and there should be more than a single option here. Codes may say that the complaints are made to the chair, but what if the chair is the target of the complaint? The code must also outline the process that the recipient of the complaint is to follow. Is it acceptable that the chair or other recipient approach the accused privately and attempt to remediate the concern informally, or must it go directly to the entire board? Can the complainant remain anonymous? Will the complaint be discussed in camera or in public session, remembering that the vote on any such sanction must be in an open meeting? So, the short answer to the question of what to do if someone has violated your code of conduct is check your internal procedures for guidance. But ideally, check them before you are faced with a violation, as the best time to establish a reasoned and logical approach to a potential situation is any time other than when you are in the midst of it.